Hello there, I'm Sarah, your natural endometriosis expert. Welcome to my podcast. This is the place to be for information, advice and tips on managing your endometriosis naturally. I've been managing my own endo now successfully for about 20 years, and I've been running my own therapy business since 2008, helping others to do the same. If you're curious to cut through all the noise and rubbish that's out there and learn the key to managing endometriosis with minimal reliance on drugs and surgery, then this is the only podcast you'll need. Let's get started. Hello there. Welcome to the last podcast of 2022. This week I'm going to be talking about how you can make 2023 the year where you really start to see some changes with your health. Quite often around this time we're starting to look at New Year's resolutions. We look at things that we maybe don't want to do too much more of in the next year, or maybe we want to introduce a bit more of in the next year. And that's a really great place to start. But actually what many of us don't do is actually have a plan to follow through, a plan to actually make those desires, those pledges, those visions, whatever you want to call it, to make that happen. And this week that's what I want to talk to you about. It is possible to manage your endometriosis. It is possible to reduce your endometriosis. It is possible to avoid surgery. It's possible to recover effectively from surgery so your endometriosis doesn't come back. But the first thing that you really need to do, if this is something that you'd like to think about in 2023, is to really have that vision in your mind. What is it that you want to achieve with your endometriosis? This is vital. It's a really, really important thing. It's the same as any project. So you wouldn't start a project at work, you wouldn't start a school or college project without having a clear idea of what the outcome of that project is. So if you treat your health in exactly the same way, that's the first step to really overcoming your symptoms, to being able to manage your health effectively, to regain control of your health. So the first thing I'm going to suggest that you do is, and even if this hasn't been on your radar at all for this year, do try this because it's a really, really powerful exercise. Take 20 minutes out, set a timer on your phone and lock yourself away from any and all distractions just for 20 minutes and really think about the symptoms that you're having with your endometriosis, what your life would look like without them, and how exactly you want your health to be. So how do you want to be able to manage your endo? Do you want to be able to say, I am completely symptom-free this time next year? Do you want to say, I am in complete control of my endometriosis this time next year? Or would you be happy just to say, I've got a reduction in my symptoms? Work out exactly what that looks like. Feel what that feels like. What would you be able to achieve if you managed to achieve that vision? And really solidify what you want to get out of 2023 when it comes to your endometriosis. I mean, this works with anything. If you want to set a goal for a new house, if you want to set a goal for a new job, you can try exactly the same thing. Set aside 20 minutes and really work out exactly what you want that goal to look like. Now, it's a bit different when it comes to our health because we're told when we're diagnosed with endo that we can't manage it naturally, that it's not possible to reduce endometriosis without surgery. So we kind of have those barriers in our mind that it isn't possible. So what I want you to do is just cast aside any beliefs that you have, anything that you've been told about your endometriosis in terms of your ability or anybody's capability of managing it naturally. Cast aside those limiting beliefs, cast aside all the things you may have been told, and believe that anything is possible. Once you believe that anything is possible, within that boundary of anything, which is a limitless boundary, but within that boundary of anything, what do you want your endometriosis to be? Do you want it to go away completely? Do you want to be symptom-free? Do you want to just be able to manage flare-ups? Do you want just to be pain-free? Everybody's different. There's no right or wrong answer here. I'm working with a client at the minute who just wants to be pain-free. That's all they want. They're not bothered about reducing the endometriosis. They're not bothered about anything else. It's just the pain. They just want rid of the pain. I've worked with other people in the past who want their endometriosis reduced. They don't want to have to deal with flare-ups. So work out what you want your endometriosis to look like. How do you want your health to be? What impact would that have on your life? So what is it stopping you doing at the moment that you would be able to do if you achieved that goal that's personal to you? And I want you to sit in that moment. Sit in the moment where it is possible. Sit in the moment this time next year where you have achieved that goal. So if your goal is to reduce your symptoms, how will that feel? What will you be able to do that you can't do now? And how will that feel? What will that mean to you? And write all of this down. When we write things down, things become more real. Our brain, it's a long and complex process, but our brain can't tell a difference between something perceived and something real. So if you're really envisaging your life without endometriosis, if you put yourself in that position where you are going out wearing clothes that feel comfortable, you're going out without feeling fatigue, you're full of energy, you can get up for work on a morning feeling fabulous, you can come home from work feeling fabulous. How does that feel? What does that look like to you? Write all of those things down. Your brain will be living that as if that's happening. By writing it down, you're solidifying that as well. We have something called the RAS, the RAS system, which essentially is our filter. And when we are faced with day-to-day activities, when we're going about our daily tasks, we have so much information that our brains can't process that amount of information. So our RAS, or RAS, that is what filters out the information that isn't important. The more important the information, then the stronger our belief is in it is. So by writing things down, you are telling your brain that actually this is really important. I'm thinking about this, I'm feeling these feelings. This is how my life without endometriosis, or without the pain of endometriosis, or without the flooding, whatever it is that your goal is, I'm telling my brain that this is important. By writing it down, I'm telling my brain that it's even more important. This matters. This is the first step to really gaining control or regaining control of your health. So set aside 20 minutes. Really, really feel how your life will feel without your symptoms impacting, without your symptoms getting in the way. Then once you have that vision, we can start to come up with a plan. Now, the key to really achieving your goal when it comes to endometriosis, after you know what your goal is, the key is understanding your endometriosis well enough to be able to tackle it. For many of us, endometriosis feels like this really complex, really non-understandable mountain of an issue. But actually, the more you start to break endometriosis down, the more you start to understand how it's showing up for you, then the smaller that mountain becomes. It becomes less scary, and it actually starts to become manageable. You do start to believe that you can manage it. You do start to believe that you can reduce it. You do start to believe that you can have that outcome that is so personal to you. So my second thing to do between now and the new year is to really think about, or start to think about, how. So what needs to change? The mechanics of it. So where, if your goal is to reduce your pain by this time next year, so you don't have any endometriosis pain, you need to understand how that pain is for you. Not just the surface level, not just I get huge cramps down the left side of my abdomen on the second week of the month. Really delve into that pain. What sort of pain is it? Is it every day? Is it just when you're doing certain activities? Is it actually there at certain times of the month but in a different guise? Do you get any other pain? Do you get any back pain, any lower back pain, any shoulder pain, any headaches? Really delve into what's going on. Because once we start to see exactly what is going on, we can start to then unpick why it's happening, and that is the key. Once we understand why it's happening, we can then start to address it. So it's not simply good enough to say, yes, I get pain because of my endometriosis. Okay, what bit of endometriosis is giving you the pain? It isn't the same for everyone. Don't believe that it's simple. Don't believe that it's going to be the same as the next person. Some people have endometriosis and don't have any pain at all. Some people have endometriosis where the pain comes and goes with hormone fluctuations. Some people have endometriosis where the pain comes and goes with the inflammation or with certain movements. So understand why you're getting the symptoms that you want to see the back of. And then when you understand the why, you can start to work on reducing them. You can start to look at ways of minimizing them if that's your goal. So if you just want to minimize and manage your symptoms, you can start to look at ways to do that. Understanding the why will give you longer lasting results. You don't necessarily have to tackle the why. If you do, you'll get even longer lasting results. And that's when we're really into the nuts and the bolts of self-management. Endometriosis, like I say, isn't simple. Endometriosis is complex. It varies from person to person. There are different reasons why we get the symptoms we get, and those reasons do vary from person to person. So if you can understand why you're getting the symptoms you're getting, then you can really start to look at making long-lasting changes. Sometimes it is just a case of understanding your triggers. So sometimes it is just a case of, if I eat wheat, then I know I get endo. However, that's a really good example, because quite often people hide behind that. They think that's the reason, but actually when they delve deeper into it, they'll see that there's a whole host of other stuff going on. Actually, it's not the wheat that's the problem. It could be, but actually it could be more to do with the fact that when you're stressed, you just grab a quick sandwich rather than making a healthy lunch. And it's not the wheat that's causing it, it's the stress. So there can be other things as well. So really take time to understand your endometriosis, to understand why things are happening. Don't assume, never assume that you know the answer already. Even if you think you do, even if you've tracked it before, track it some more. Then make 2023 the year where you come up with a plan. So come up with a self-treatment plan. Come up with a treatment plan where you talk to a different doctor. Actually take action. One of the things I talk about a lot with my clients, with my friends, is about manifesting, and it's about real manifesting. It's not about all this rubbish that you see where you can just kind of think something into existence. Real manifesting takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of action. You need to take action. It's not good enough just to sit here and think, right, okay, this time next year I'm going to be managing my endometriosis. And you put a lot of time and energy into understanding your endo, you put a lot of time and energy into understanding your triggers, understanding why things are happening. That's all good action. You also need the follow-through action. So you need the action that will see you take treatment action. Now that could be that you've been let down by your doctor so many times that you switch doctors. Maybe you've been meaning to do this for ages. You've been meaning to ring the clinic and follow up on the results. You've been meaning to delve deeper into my world of alternative medicine a little bit for a while. You need to take that action. You need to take those steps towards that goal. You've got your vision down. You've got your endometriosis pretty much summed up. You now need to take steps. And that can be the scariest step of them all, because that's actually, especially if you're entering into the world of alternative medicine for the first time, that can be a step into the unknown, which is the scariest of steps. Our brains don't like change, and this sounds ridiculous, but actually sometimes we're happier sitting with the pain, sitting with the bloating and all the other stuff that we have. We're happier with that because ultimately we do feel safe. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's excruciating. Yes, it's all the other things that it is, but it's also safe because our brain fundamentally knows that we are in a safe place. When we think about change, when we think about taking those actions to change our life, our brain gets scared, even though our rational brain can say, no, these are changes for the better. My life will be better with these changes. Our subconscious thinks, whoa, hang on, it might not be. We're safe where we are. Why are we changing things where we are? So there's actually a lot of resistance from within our minds in terms of taking these steps. So don't think this is easy. And if you find it hard, don't beat yourself up, because most people do find it hard. It is hard. Change is difficult. Our natural instinct is to shy away from change, even positive changes. So that's why it's really important to really have a plan. If you have a plan, you've got something to stick to. The plan feels more solid. That mountain that you have at the beginning, that endometriosis mountain that gets smaller the more you understand what you want to achieve. It gets smaller the more you understand your endometriosis, and it gets even smaller if you have a plan to achieving that goal. It's exactly the same as everything else. If you have a savings goal, you can say, right, okay, I want to save for a deposit on a house. And you can be looking at what, say, £25,000. And that looks really scary when it's just a big sum. But actually, if you break down your monthly income, if you break down maybe where you can make some savings, if you break down where you can start to save money every month, suddenly that £25,000 doesn't seem so insurmountable, because you have a plan to get there. And your endometriosis, your health, is exactly the same. Don't think about it as a big scary mountain. Think about it possibly as a big scary mountain, but with steps up, or an escalator up that will help you climb it. Because once you break it down into steps, it suddenly becomes a lot easier. That that primitive part of our brain that starts to panic when we start talking about change, if you can reassure that primitive brain that actually, yeah, you've got this, yes, it's change, but actually look at all these ways I'm going to mitigate this risk. Look at these ways that I'm going to keep us safe. Even through this change, I'm going to keep us safe. If you can reassure that brain, then you're halfway there to achieving your goal. And I know that sounds daft, but so many people I talk to who've wanted to overcome their endometriosis for so long don't know where to start. It becomes insurmountable, and they just keep doing the same things over and over again in the hope that something is going to change. So this year, I would love you to really tackle your endometriosis to a level that you are happy with, to a level that you feel comfortable with. That, like I say, that could be finally pushing for a surgery, that could be finally jumping into the world of alternative medicine. But 2023, take some steps, take some action to actually overcoming what it is that's getting in the way of you managing and being in control of your health. So take 20 minutes to think about how that's going to look, and then you can start formulating that plan. Once you have that vision, you can then start to look at, right, okay, how do I achieve this vision? Understand your endometriosis, and then take steps to managing, controlling, treating the bits of your endo that you need to in order to manage it, in order to get that control back. Obviously, if you need a bit of a help with that, there's people like me out there. I have my self-treatment program. So for people who are really keen to get to the bottom of their endo and follow pretty much the steps that I've just outlined here in the podcast, I do have an e-learning program that's available. I'll put the link in this podcast chat. And there will be a code as well, so look out for the code. To thank you very much for listening to this first series of this podcast, then I'm going to offer you 15% off. So anybody purchasing my self-treatment for endometriosis protocol program will get that discount before the end of January. So if it is something that you're interested in doing, if 2023 is the year that you are finally going to take control of your endometriosis, then you'll have a little thank you from me to help you on the way in terms of that step discount. I'll put the link in the comments. There'll be a discount code. Just add the discount code at checkout and it will automatically be applied. And that, like I say, will be live until the end of January 2023 for you to take advantage of. You can also come along to my health clinics. I do one-to-ones. The places for those are very limited now. But if you wanted to inquire, you can be put on a waiting list for, I think it's March now is the first opening, but you can be put on a waiting list if you prefer to do a one-to-one program with me rather than the self-treatment program. But to be honest, the self-treatment program is the same framework that I work through with all of my clients. So you're getting exactly the same framework. You just work through it all in your own time. Thank you very, very much for listening to this first series. I will be back in the early spring with the second series of the Only Endometriosis podcast that you need. The second series will be bigger and better. I have guests lined up, a lot of different topics. Again, if you want something specific to be on that rota, then do let me know. It's by no means too late. I'll be finalising things towards the end of January for recording in February. So if you do want anything adding, then please do let me know. If you want any questions answering, please do drop me a line. And if you are determined, like I hope you are, that 2023 is the year where you start to manage your health, regain control of your health, then do check out my self-treatment program. I wish you every happiness over the festive period, whatever you're doing, wherever you are on this fabulous little planet of ours. I hope that 2023 is your year. I hope it's full of loveliness and abundance. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, then I wish you and yours all the very best. Take care.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really hope that you found this podcast helpful. If you did, please hit follow so you can listen to more, and please also share it with anyone else who you think will benefit. And don't forget, if you're looking for women's health treatments, workshops or support within your workplace, you can find all of my services, including our monthly virtual clinic, over at www.healthyandwomenshealth.com. I'll see you next time.